All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the Age of Influence series. We're glad to have you here today. So today we're meeting with Michael from GetResponse, and he's going to talk about how, as a B2B brand, they've been able to use influencer marketing to drive thought leadership and really become a leader in the space. So first, some housekeeping details. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can enter it into the Q&A question section in your control panel, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A session where we'll address any questions. And we'll also be tracking hashtag Age of Influence on Twitter, so you can also follow along and ask questions there. So to get started, I'm going to introduce Hillary, who's our Director of Marketing here at Insightpool. Hillary, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. We are really excited to have you here. It is the last webinar of the series for 2016 as we kind of close out and enter into 2017. Like Bailey said, I'm Hillary Settle. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Insightpool. Just to give you a kind of a little high-level understanding of Insightpool, we are an earned influencer marketing platform. And what we really do is we work with brands to help them, identify, segment, and engage influencers in targeted spaces that they're looking to grow their business. If it's a B2B company like GetResponse. We've had GetResponse as a client here for a while, and have really enjoyed working with them and seeing the successes that they've had using our tool. And we'll go more into depth there, but we've also seen larger B2C brands like Coke and UPS use our tool to really identify consumers that are looking to be more thoughtful about how they're engaging with the brand. So we're really excited to get a little bit more in depth about influencer marketing as a whole, and excited to introduce you to Michael, who is the content marketing manager over at GetResponse. So welcome, Michael. I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself and GetResponse.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, guys. I'm very happy to be here with you guys today. As Hillary said, I'm the content marketing manager here at GetResponse. So we're an online marketing platform. We do webinars, email marketing, landing pages, automation. So all the little things that SMBs and enterprise customers might want to use in the online space. Of course, we integrate with other solutions, and we work with other brands such as Insightpool here that we're here today with. So we've been on the market for almost 18 years, and probably one of the things that sets us apart is the fact that we offer the platform in 22 languages. So that's one of the things that us being from Poland, actually, GetResponse is a Polish brand, it means a lot to us. So, I mean, we've been in the market for some time now, and quite recently we've worked on a project called GetResponse Marketing Automation Hub, which is something that I wanted to talk to you today about, as we have used influencer marketing a lot in this project, and this is probably the most important thing that we'll be discussing today. So for GetResponse, influencer marketing meant quite a few things. Probably one of the that was the key element to launching our new GetResponse Marketing Automation Hub, which is a space where all marketers, salespeople, business owners could go into, and they could find relevant information about marketing automation. They could find unbiased information coming from world-known experts, and they could learn from their tips, from their expertise. They could find all the information they might need, and it wouldn't be bound by the vendor. So even though that we have introduced GetResponse Marketing Automation as a feature, it wasn't a place where we would limit ourselves to what we do. It was a plan to have a space where influencers, where business practitioners could discuss marketing automation in the ways that they use. So they have expertise, they have experience on it, and we wanted them to speak truly about what they've been doing. So to be honest, when it comes to marketing with influencer marketing, this is not our first experience. This is not our first approach. In the past, we have done a few things. So we have, for example, worked on common projects with some known experts on ebooks, webinars. We've done research with some of them in the past, or presentations or workshops. So we have done quite a few things, and most of those things were pretty much short-term projects. Usually these were just creating one thing, so for example an ebook, promoting it for a couple of months and then moving on to another project. So they would be related to what we do or what we found that marketers wanted to know about, but these weren't all related to one specific project that we wanted to work on in the long term. Some of them worked longer, so for example landing page optimization course, which we did with Peplaya. This was a longer project that has helped us a lot in the past and has taught us that influencer marketing does work, and this is why we wanted to use influencer marketing when launching our own marketing automation hub, which was something that we needed and which we thought that is going to help us both position ourselves better in terms of our expertise in the field of marketing automation, but also to help us connect with the right people, with influencers, with the business people that use marketing automation in their everyday business. So when launching Marketing Automation Hub, there were really four main phases to what we were doing. Marketing automation started in July 2016. That's when the hub was published. It's still an ongoing project. Since then, we have done quite a few projects. Sorry, I'm going to go back one slide. Since then, we have published quite a few things, articles, ebooks, webinars, and stuff like that. We've decided to cover various aspects of marketing automation, from inspirational ideas of automating marketing processes, from futuristic visions to automation challenges. And as I said, our point was to create a go-to place for marketing automation related topics. And the phase one for launching our marketing automation was really to find the influencers, to build relationships with them. Because in the end, it's not, we thought that if we market marketing automation ourselves, so we advertise it the way we usually advertise our features, our tools and stuff that we do, this is not going to work, because people follow influencers. They follow thought leaders that have right expertise, they have hands-on experience with what works and what doesn't. So we knew that we had to find the influencers and build relationships with them, find out if they wanted to talk about this topic, and ask them to help us to contribute to this space that we wanted to create. We wanted them to work together with us on this project, and we wanted to help our audience. So having built the relationships, we needed to create the content, which was not an easy thing. Of course, this is a long ongoing project. Let's go back one slide. The second part was to create content. Having connected with the influencers, having reached out to them, we had to plan creation of content with them. So you couldn't, of course, get all the content out there on the first day. You had to publish it, let's say every 2 days or every 3 days. You had to publish it as often as people could consume it. So of course, we had to work on creating something that would help our audience. We have gathered a few topics that we knew that it would be helpful. We found a lot of those from our influencers, and that's why we created ebooks, webinars, presentations. We didn't limit our influencers to the ways that they wanted to communicate. So if they said, "Oh, let's build an infographic, let's create one, or let's do a webinar," we would definitely do that. We didn't want them to feel limited at all. What depends on what they knew, what their audience liked. They knew what type of content is going to work. So that's what we wanted to do with our influencers. The next thing was to promote the hub. So of course, we would use all the different channels that we had at hand, and we would use our internal databases, email databases, social media channels, and of course PPC as well, and external media. So we would follow all the things that we do usually with our everyday marketing thing, so all the other projects, but we would run it with a proper strategy in mind. So we would know that this is the project that we want to promote. We need to sync all the different channels together to find out what people are talking about, to make sure that we don't overwhelm our audience, but also that we receive proper feedback from them. So we would know when to run, for example, a webinar, how to promote it, and we had some success with it. And I'm very proud when it comes to how we have managed to promote it. So having gathered the influencers, negotiated with them, build the content and promote it, we of course had to go to measurement and optimization, because running a project like this isn't only about publishing and then just forgetting about it. You had to know whether it's worked or it's not. So we would know, for example, which influencer did well, which one did less work, or they performed slightly differently, or perhaps the topic wasn't right. So the whole project was a way for us to learn a lot. It was a project to learn from the influencers, from our audience, and also a way for us to pave the path for future projects. Because in the end, we said that this isn't going to be like the other project. This is going to be a short-term project. This is going to be a long one, where we're going to speak to our influencers, speak to our audience, and find a lot of the things that have worked or haven't. So we would figure out most of the things along the way. We of course had a strategy in mind, but in these kind of projects, you have to be ready for feedback and know what works, what doesn't, what needs to be changed as we go along. One of the top challenges in this project was actually finding the right influencers. Of course, you have many different sources to use when it comes to finding influencers, but only some of them work the way you want. So first of all, to come up with the idea of who we're going to work with, we needed to find the relevant topics that we wanted to discuss. So when creating the automation hub in our minds or on the paper, we already mapped out all the different topics that we wanted to discuss. So we found the questions that people ask, we found the topics that are covered or not covered on the web. We have found a few topics that we had in mind and we wanted our influencers to answer. Of course, we had some external ones, internal ones, but we found these are the things that we wanted to talk about because these are the things that people were asking about. So having identified the topics, we decided to reach out to the right influencers. And as I said, we had quite a few channels at hand. Of course, we have Twitter and LinkedIn, we have Insightpool, we have Ninja Outreach and Personal Connections, a top influencer list. So starting from the bottom, actually top influencer lists, this is a funny one because you get many blog posts, many articles on top 25 influencers to work with on this, or top 25 people to follow on this particular topic. And I'm not going to lie, we have gone through those and we have checked the influencers and then analyzed what they do, how often they do publish their publications, their articles, what they talk about. And this wasn't the solution that would have worked for us. Many of those influencers that were on those lists, in our opinion, were just people that had a lot of traffic, a lot of followers, and this isn't something that we wanted. We wanted people with an actual reach, with engaged audience, and with specific target audience in mind. So you wouldn't go for an influencer, or we didn't want to go for an influencer that had plenty of followers, but from various topics. So celebrities that wouldn't provide much value for our audience. We had some personal connections, of course, which is great because we've worked with some of the people in the past and we were happy with. As I said, we did some webinars beforehand, ebooks and stuff like that. And of course, we used tools, Insightpool and Ninja Outreach. On Insightpool, I'm sure Hillary will tell you a little bit in a second. And as for Twitter and LinkedIn, we use those manually. So we have checked different hashtags that people use. We connected the dots, so we were looking for people from different groups on LinkedIn, email marketing, marketing automation, stuff like that. We would look through what they do and analyze who might be the right people that we wanted to work with. So this is the way we reached out. And as for more detail, how about you, Hilary? So could you tell us how you guys helped us with getting to the right people for Insightpool?
Definitely. Well, I think to your point before is, and this is when we're working with any clients, the most important part of an influencer marketing strategy is really being able to identify the right audience, and being thoughtful about who those people are. And to your point, it's great to have some of those VIP influencers share your message, but really it's the micro influencers, the citizen influencers, those that have maybe not as high of a reach as a VIP, celebrity influencer. However, they do have a voice within a smaller community. And to that point, when you're thinking about how to engage these influencers, understanding what channels that they are on. When we talk about the word omni-channel has been thrown around a lot, for a lot of brands, in both B2B and B2C. And really, the part that I think people are really struggling with is to say, okay, I'm just going to have the one message and just share it to everybody on all channels. But what we recommend is saying, okay, what are your goals? And from there, what channels are going to be the best for your business? So, say you were doing an event, that was targeted, and you wanted to do more video content. Maybe Facebook is the best channel for that. If you wanted to do one-to-one engagement, actually having a one-to-one conversation with an influencer and really having that more personalized approach to your outreach, then maybe Twitter is the best option for that. Say you have a lot of imagery, you're launching an ebook, you're launching an infographic of sorts, being able to sort of break up that visual component and using that content to display it on Instagram. So I think from a channel perspective, it's really, really important to make sure that the channel that you're using is best for your business. And, like Michael was saying before, when you talk about how we worked with GetResponse, the approach was pretty simple when we talked about it. GetResponse wanted to have a very personalized approach on how that they were engaging these micro influencers. They wanted to start conversation. They wanted to be authentic with the approach, and it worked. It started conversations with the right communities. It started building more thought leadership around, the content that GetResponse was looking to engage. And the best part about it is now it's a whole net new audience of, small business experts that are talking about, marketing automation, like hands-on experts that really wanted to talk about the subject around, marketing automation, and felt like they could be a thought leader in this space. And so, Michael, I'd love to hear kind of, when you talk about, that sort of authentic approach on, engaging influencers. Did you feel like this approach was really, it really worked for GetResponse?
Absolutely, yeah. Because of the fact that we found the relevant influencers in relevant niches, we've been able to locate the right people that we wanted to talk to, and we've tried different segments. We've tried different copy for those people, so you can see that this is a proper conversation, not like a robotic kind of communicating with the audience. People actually engaged in the conversation, and we got lucky. Because some of them replied to us even via email or longer direct messages and provided very valuable feedback, longer answers, and we've been able to work with some of them on larger pieces of content. They have asked us whether they can contribute to the blog and stuff like that. So we were really happy with the results, with the way we were identifying and engaging the people.
Wonderful. That's great.
So yeah, perhaps I'll take this one over. So the next phase um, the next phase of launching the hub was connecting with the audience. And as I said, one thing is to reach out to them using the right tools and using the right copy and connecting them on a personal level. But another thing is signing a contract, because of course some of them we wanted to write for us, but others we just wanted to mention them in articles and stuff like that. So with some of the influencers, we will sign a contract, and this would be a long project, because we would have standard contracts, and we would have to amend them because some people wanted different elements inside of them. So, for example, how we promote them, how often they would share, and stuff like that. But the most important thing is that connecting isn't actually about signing a contract. And even though we have managed to connect with, reached out to many influencers, what we did was go more rogue. We decided to go more like agencies do. So we decided to discuss with each and every influencer in private. So over phone, we would schedule chemistry calls, so-called. So we would decide to talk to them and feel how the flow is going. Decide, find out whether we're on the same page and if we've got the same vision. So we would have to take some time and share our vision with them, and then we would know whether this is the project that we would be wanting to work with them, and this is the time where they could answer us as well. So having talked to them a few times, we would find out whether this was the right fit. So some of the influencers said no because they were too busy or they were preoccupied with something else. But some influencers, of course, they agreed. They wanted to do something more. And in fact, some of the people that decided not to work with us recommended other influencers instead of them. So they decided to recommend someone else. So we would have some opportunity work other influencers that we perhaps haven't known before, or we haven't had personal connections with. So I think this was a great experience, great learning experience, because we would learn that connecting with the audience isn't only about just using the technology, but it's about creating a proper strategy, following through, and connecting with them on a personal level. So, Hillary, this is a question I probably wanted to ask you beforehand before I answer myself. So, what is an influencer in your opinion? So, I know you guys do influencer marketing on an everyday basis. I'm just a user when it comes to a platform. So, what's your perspective on this?
Right. Yeah, I think there's sort of two components to it, and then kind of breaking those components out a bit further, kind of in the spectrum on influence. And moving forward, I'll have an actual slide showing that pyramid of influence. But we look at it as two ways: earned influencer marketing and then paid influencer marketing. And to your point before, the paid influencer marketing side is really that transaction in the monetary standpoint, on saying, we want to work with you as an influencer. Let's build this campaign and we'll pay you X to do so, which we really view as more of, influencer advertising in a lot of ways. On the earned influencer side, however, which is where we specialize, it's talking about influence across the board. So this is being able to activate these citizen influencers, these micro influencers that have relevant influence in a certain topic, and they have an audience that also cares about that, and really building that rapport. We always say to our clients, don't just go in for the kill. You have to first, talk with talk with your audience, engage them in a conversation that's thoughtful and authentic, and then ask for what you'd like them to do. If it's join a webinar, if it's download an ebook, if by the third touch point of saying, hey, I'd love to hear about your thoughts around marketing automation. What do you think about where the industry is going? And then say, hey, we have a great ebook. We'd love for you to learn about it. It's a much more authentic approach to be able to have influencers feel that you're being authentic with the approach. So that's kind of where we see it on kind of a twofolds. And we've seen GetResponse have incredible results around really dominating the earned influencer marketing space around marketing automation. So exciting stuff going on, around the influencers that your team's engaged.
Thanks a lot, Hilary. So, yeah, our perspective is similar to what you mentioned beforehand, as in when we were looking for influencers, we didn't care so much about the number of followers that they had. We wanted them to be relevant. So, of course, we had some great influencers that do have large exposure, large number of fans, but who we really cared about was the large number of small influencers that could influence the communities around them. So those citizen influencers, the people that actually use our product and can recommend the product to our users. Of course, when we would like to be promoting the product, but what we were promoting here is the actual marketing automation hub. So the space where you could find unbiased information on marketing automation related topics, on sales, on marketing, on social media and stuff like that. So when we were looking for our influencers, we didn't just care about the relevancy or about just the numbers. We wanted them to be relevant, and we wanted them to write whatever they felt was right. So we wanted to inspire and spark discussions. We wanted them to express their expertise, and even if the words weren't as always as bright as we wanted them, they weren't as favorable, because they would say, for example, that marketing automation isn't as easy as ABC. This was something that we wanted to hear about, because they knew, the influencers knew what the real problems of our audience are, of marketers that use marketing automation. So we wanted them to speak the way what they felt was the best, and we wanted them to write about the topics that they knew were most important for our audience. So having asked them to write on what the topics on the topics that they felt are important. The whole point was that the contributors will be driving the marketing automation hub. Of course, some of our employees, our colleagues, would have been working on the hub itself as well. They would be writing articles there, but it was mainly the contributors who would be shaping the way marketing automation hub would be looking. So the way it should be seen by the audience. So back to you, Hilary. I know that you wanted to talk about more on how you guys take over the whole idea of reaching out to influencer marketing with Insightpool.
Yeah, well, when you talk about relevancy, that's really something that is incredibly important to us, because if you're identifying an audience and it's not relevant to your business, what's the point? And so, we've really built a platform to be able to understand and identify key indicators through our algorithms of indicators of, relevancy to key topics that you're looking to kind of identify an audience around. You're looking for triggers that say, they have a propensity to potentially be looking for a software, or be, curious about marketing automation, or dogs, or whatever you're really looking to identify a key search term around. And then what we've done is, if you see on the right, it's a drop-down menu that we have within our platform to say, okay, we want to find people based on reach, relevancy, or rank. And relevancy is a huge piece of it, because even the Kim Kardashians of the world, or Justin Biebers, they have millions and millions of followers. But if you were to say how many of those are influencers of music, or how many of those are influencers of fashion, maybe for Kim Kardashian, it would be very, very small percentage there. So really that reach is not as important as the relevancy of the influencer, to your brand, which is something that's incredibly important to us, and also something that I think is important when you're talking about how to really have an influencer marketing campaign that's gonna drive results for your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have to agree here that these are some of the influencers that we've worked with, and some of them have really large audiences. But if we wanted them to talk about cooking, so if we were running a cooking hub, I'm pretty sure they would have been the right fit for our audience. So this is what Insightpool has helped us with, is to find the right fit, find the relevant influencers, not just the ones that have large numbers of followers that mean nothing because none of their tweets, none of their messages or emails are read, or none of the people are actually interested in this specific topic because they just write inspirational quotes instead of writing opinionated copy, opinionated articles, groundbreaking research and stuff like that. So who we were really looking for was people that are top-class experts but with hands-on experience. And when working with key influencers, we've helped them out to promote the hub as well. So it's not that we would let them know, okay, here's the login details, you can log in and publish an article. We would help them out also to promote the content. We would provide them with visuals and stuff like that. So when working with influencers, you have to work on those specific topics as well, because some influencers well, as I said, they're relevant, but some of them, for example, don't promote their work that often. So it would help them out on finding the best ways to do it, and they would help us out with coming up the best topics, the best content, the best way to present what they wanted to talk about.
And when you're talking about identifying these influencers, I would assume that, like you said, if you are finding influencers that are talking about being a culinary expert, that has nothing to do with marketing automation, even though I'm sure most of them like to eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right. And drink. I mean, don't we all? 'Tis the season. But when we're talking about what I was discussing before around that pyramid of influence, when you're looking kind of a top-down approach on saying these VIP influencers, these celebrities that have millions of followers, and then kind of breaking it down further into micro-influencers, citizen influencers, and then kind of the creme de la creme, which is the advocates and the customers, and really kind of moving the needle on saying, I really want this influencer to not just be an influencer on a one-time initiative, but really build a relationship with this influencer and turning them into an advocate or a customer. It is really the end goal for all businesses. So how do you get there? Well, we say you really have to look at sort of that power middle audience, those influencers, and we say there's sort of a spectrum there of about 5,000 to about 20,000 followers, with sort of the 10,000 followers kind of as the sweet spot in the middle, and being able to say, okay, out of this subset of people, let's dig a little bit deeper, and Insightpool helps companies like GetResponse really kind of dig into what the influencer cares about from a characteristic standpoint, what they have as an interest, what kind of conversations they're jumping in, what kind of conversations and content they're sharing, what networks they're on. Not all influencers have influence on, Twitter. Maybe they're more on LinkedIn or more on LinkedIn than they are on Facebook, and really trying to figure out what channels to engage these influencers on is crucial for the success of your campaign. And when we talk about micro influencers and really being thoughtful about the approach on your influencer marketing strategy, you have to think about what the long-term approach is for this. And like I said before, this micro influencer audience might not have the largest audience, but it does have the most relevant. Like we had mentioned before, small business owners or social media experts or marketing automation experts are the ones that are going to be talking about key topics that GetResponse is really looking to engage. They care about the solution. They have an audience of marketers who are looking to them for advice. And even though their reach might be smaller, it's highly relevant to their audiences. And we're really able to kind of take that down and figure out who that subset of people are to make sure that our clients are able to engage them in a really thoughtful approach. And I'd love to hear, Michael, your thoughts around this too. But I think for us, where we really see this biggest success for our customers is when I see an ebook or I see, a webinar like the ones you shared before, having those influencers really participating in collaborative marketing initiatives. And that's when we really see turning those influencers into brand advocates. How do you feel about, especially from the content perspective, how valuable, having influencers turning into advocates, like how that makes, your job as a content creator so much better and easier in a lot of ways because you're able to have these resources?
Definitely. As a content marketing person, I believe that the best solution, best outcome is when the influencers, of course, sharing our work together. It's probably a tough thing because some influencers aren't as engaged and they don't participate in this project that much. But there are those, not necessarily the most mainstream types of influencers, that are very happy to promote and share their work and our work as well. And these are the people that we usually like to stick longer with, because if someone who's helped you out in the project isn't sharing it, isn't proud of this work, then it's just a contractor. This is not probably the influencer that is really there for your brand or for what you stand for. These are just people that wanted to, to write a piece, get paid, or get exposure, and forget about it. And of course, there are those that will help you out anyway without promoting it. But in the long run, you would want to surround yourself with the ones that like to share the content and are really engaged with what you do.
Right. And that's actually kind of a perfect segue into this next slide when we talk about that earned influence that you were just mentioning, those sort of unpaid forms of influence. That sort of word of mouth that all brands are looking for, that kind of viralness, people just sharing content or sharing conversations they're having with brands because they really are just interested in it and they want their communities to also be interested in that content, in that conversation. But like I mentioned before, there's a long-term, relationship piece of this. It's not just the whole idea of going on your first date and asking somebody to marry you. It's more than that. You need to, be more thoughtful about how you're approaching the relationship and really trying to get to know your audience, engaging them with content that actually means something versus sort of that, spray and pray idea of just, blasting out a lot of different content and really it not resonating with anyone. So when we talk about earned influence, that's really how, we're looking at defining earned influence. And, when we talk about different types of influencers, Michael, what would be sort of how you guys are approaching that kind of breakdown of different levels of influence?
Sure. There were different types of influencers that we've worked along in this project, and I'm going to say straight away that it's not only the earned influencers that we work with. There were plenty of all types of influencers, and some of them were paid. We had a budget prepared for this project, and we knew that sometimes, as you say, you have to spend money because all those influencers, especially the ones with biggest number of followers, the most known people, they will want to get paid for this kind of project because, after all, it's their work. They are happy to write expertise articles, do research with you, do webinars and stuff like that. But after all, they want to go to their own families and spend time with them, go on vacation and stuff like that. So we knew straight away that some of the influencers will want to get paid, and either they will want to have access to GetResponse, let's say, or want to get paid in some other way, or they would want to work on long-term projects, which was nice as well, because sometimes instead of a one-off project, we would be working with them for much longer. So there were different types of influencers that we worked with, and some of them were better, some of them worse, of course. As I said, mainstream influencers are great. They're great because people recognize them straight away, but they might not be as engaged in the long run. The niche experts are less known, as of course the name implies, but in the end, they have bigger impact on the people surrounding them. So this is definitely something you want to do in the long run. And by the way, the pictures that you see on the right, these are some of the just regular writers on our blog, and there were plenty of other people that we collaborated with, because like on many blogs, you can apply to contact us to write a piece of an article with for us, and then we have been, of course, collecting them beforehand and afterwards. But after we've run the influencer marketing campaign, we've noticed that there's a much bigger number of applications of people asking us, hey, I want to write for you guys. I've really enjoyed these pieces, and this is my take on this project or on this topic. Why don't you host it on your site, or perhaps we could do something together in the future. And of course, short-term and long-term, because some of the projects just didn't work out, or mostly the people that we worked with were very busy, and they had some preoccupations, and they scheduled webinars in a year in advance and stuff like that. And we had those that decided to do a long-term projects, and that's going to go through in 2017, and who knows if not longer. So I think it's a perfect time to talk about the results on what we did, and as I said, what kind of things that we've done and what were the results. So just shortly, in this project since July, we've managed to work with 13 mainstream or very known influencers. But as I said, there were plenty of other influencers that work with us, perhaps not on long-term projects, but are very happy to contribute for us, and are very insightful. They provide very good quality content, which I'm very happy about. And we've created 65 pieces of content, so including ebooks. Actually, since we run a few blogs, marketing, productivity platform and stuff like that, we looked at the results of the ebooks, and out of the ebooks that we've published in last year, out of 25 that we have published, 8 actually were coming from Marketing Automation Hub, which says straight away that not only the topic is right, but the people that write them are the right fit. And we've run webinars. We've run, if I'm not mistaken, 6 webinars during this period, and we had over 17,000 webinar registrants, which is great as well, because that means not only is the topic working, is people are interested in this, it also means that the people that we were talking with were the right people. And the blog itself is, to be honest, one of the best parts of our website that are visited since July, which is something we're very happy about. So I mean, the results overall were really great, and I think this just says it, as it says it all.
Yeah, and when we're talking about the results around the entire initiative that you guys had, we were so happy that Insightpool was part of this campaign, because when you have this much activity, when you have this much great content, when you have 13 like huge influencers to be able to tap their audiences to engage these micro influencers. We were really able to see some incredible results, from the campaign. And, just to highlight a few, and Michael, I'd love your feedback on here as well. What we were able to do is activate almost 1,400 influencers in the micro influencer space. And really, this was a really thoughtful approach and sort of breaking it down to say this is the subset of micro influencers that are really going to drive the needle, and that have an incredible network reach. I mean, out of the 1,400, we were engaging almost 500 people a month. Out of that, we had about 450 that we actually engaged in really thoughtful conversations, which is a higher engagement rate than a lot of the activity that we've seen just in general on Twitter. And then with that subset of influence, 17 million network connections. So this is, over 13,000 like eyeballs actually on content, people that have this level of influence per influencer. So when you talk about that relevancy is greater than reach piece, this kind of tied both of those in there. We were able to find really relevant influencers for GetResponse, and also we were able to sort of really drive the needle on finding influencers that had incredible traction around the message and that were hyper relevant to the message that GetResponse was really looking to convey. And, this is just some additional, metrics that we actually saw in an example of Scott, who we were able to engage in a conversation using Insightpool, of course, through GetResponse's handle, and really start a conversation with him. And this was something that this was somebody that your team never had a chance to engage before. And when we saw just with, a month of results that we got to see, millions of impressions, profile visits that increased overall traction for the brand. And, just with this subset of micro influencers really able to move the needle when we talk about, success, a success metric. And, for a piece of this campaign, we actually did an @mention campaign. So, when we talked about before the different channels on engagement, that one-to-one approach that Twitter and gives brands the ability to do and start that conversation organically, that was the first kind of touch point and initiative that we worked with GetResponse, really personalizing it, helping scale the process. And we saw an incredibly high click-through rate on the content that we were able to send to these micro-influencers because the approach was more authentic. When we talked about, first doing the touch point of, would love for you to learn more about our marketing automation. What are your thoughts on this? What are the, marketing changes so quickly? We'd love to hear more about, your thoughts around the changing landscape. And then the next touch point was really asking them to, read an ebook or join our webinar. And we saw an incredible click-through rate because of that approach. And sort of this is kind of this last sort of slide on this. We have something called a social advocacy funnel. And what we do is we're really able to say, okay, discovered is the audience that's undiscovered, has not engaged the brand at all. And then we want to move them all the way down the pipeline to advocates. And this is, just a snapshot of like midway through this campaign on how we moved all of that audience that was discovered, had never been engaged with GetResponse before, and move them, down the funnel on aware to casually engage, meaning they were engaging with the content in some capacity, and then kind of pushing them farther down with the end goal of being advocates. And out of this specific @mention campaign, we were able to, pull together a list of about 100 people that were really hyper-targeted influencers, engage them with a really authentic approach. And with the success of this campaign and the engagement and click-through back, we were able to garner about almost 50,000, impressions through Twitter just with this small segmented audience because it was so hyper relevant. So yeah, I would love to kind of hear your perspective, Michael, on this and some takeaways around, we talked a little bit about the identification, we talked about influencers, how it was done, kind of content that was put together, the results that you guys saw from an overarching standpoint on using a tool like Insightpool. I'd love to hear some of the key takeaways that you have around, just the influencer marketing strategy that you used.
Sure. Right before I go to the key takeaways, just so you guys know, we've started this project. As I said, we published it in July, but we've decided to work on this thing December 2015. So you can see that it was a long time ago. And just to put the numbers in perspective, at the beginning we did an outreach ourselves. We've gone through LinkedIn, Twitter, manually and looked at the influencers, and the number of people that we narrowed down as influencers was 60. So you can see how the process got better since we were able to use tools such as Insightpool, because of course you can find the main influencers, the celebrity ones kinda, you can find them manually, but the ones that you really care about, the smaller ones as well, as in because their number is much better and their overall reach will be higher. These are the type of people that are interested in e-commerce. In our opinion, well, in our situation, they were interested in e-commerce and business and SMBs, SaaS software, stuff like that. So only after using all those tools together, we were able to reach them. But as I go to the key takeaways, our main number one takeaway was that it all takes time. This is not a short project that you can just simply launch and forget. This takes time. And as I said, even though we started in December and we did our first outreach that time, it took much more than just a month, because of course you get some answers really quickly. Some influencers reply to you within an hour or even more quickly. But if you want to work with them on something else, if you want them to do a webinar or write an ebook or exchange articles and stuff like that, it's going to take more time. It's going to take months sometimes. So you have to allocate enough amount of time to do a project like this. Second takeaway is that you have to try different channels. And as I said beforehand, we've tried using many of them. And it's actually funny because us being predominantly an email marketing company, we would reach out to them via email to get longer responses. But in some cases, we decided to do something differently. So with one influencer that we haven't actually worked with in the end, but we tried to get to him a couple of times over email, we decided, you know what, we're going to message them directly on LinkedIn, because we met each other at the conference, we had a good conversation, and let's try that. And in fact, he got back to us within a half an hour and said, "Oh, sorry guys, my inbox has been hectic this week. It's been really busy. Thanks for reaching out to me." And after a few calls and conversations, okay, we agreed not to work on this project at that point. He recommended us some other influencer, and in fact, we might be working with him in the future. So this is, in my opinion, a very important one. So you have to try different ways, different doors, if you may, because sometimes they might be heavy users of LinkedIn, they might be using Twitter more often, or something else. And of course, as I said, some of these people are very busy. They have busy lifestyles, so you have to take your time and try to reach out to them when it's best. So the third takeaway, as in our perspective, is that you have to nail down the contracts. With the paid influencers especially, as I said, we had a budget, so we were prepared to spend money on getting them to write for us or do webinars for us, etc. But if you don't have a proper contract, you might not end up in the best situation. So for example, they might not be doing what they've promised, or they might be providing you, for example, old content. So something that you didn't want, you want exclusive content written for your audience, and sometimes they would republish it, or do something that, in our opinion, wasn't best for our audience. We wanted to provide free content that you wouldn't have to pay for, and they would provide links to their sites with gated content and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a learning curve, and you have to make sure that your contracts are bulletproof, because in the end, it's the audience that you really care about. It's the readers, the users of the Marketing Automation Hub that we really cared about in that perspective. And the next takeaway of we have is that money and popularity don't go along with engagement. Not at all times, but I mean, in some cases they don't go together. And as we said before, and both myself and Hillary, it's the engaged niche experts that you really care about. The earned influencers, they might not be as as known, as popular, but sometimes they're much more engaged. And of course, I'm not saying that the paid influencers are worse. We've had plenty of good influencers that we work with, and we're planning to be working with them in the future. But as I said, that if the contracts aren't bulletproof, you can see that sometimes the influencers will just treat it as a short-term project. And as I said, this is all a learning curve, and we've learned a lot through this project. The next takeaway, as I briefly said before, is that you have to make sure that everyone's doing their part. I think in the future, if we're going to do something similar to this kind of project, we're going to observe and monitor the results more thoroughly. So we will be looking at whether the influencers are sharing the information that we've provided them with, if they're providing us with expertise, content, and then promoting it to their databases. And that means also within the team, you have to make sure that everyone is doing their part so it all works out good in the long run. And the upside for all of this is that we've learned a lot of what works with influencers, what doesn't, who the right influencers are, and we've managed to build strong relationships with some of them, which is great because, as I said, we've met many influencers. Some of them have turned out to be better than others, and all of this has provided us with a lot of learning, a lot of information that we can use for the future. And when talking about the future, of course, it's worth knowing that the GetResponse Marketing Automation Hub, what we did in the last half a year, is just the beginning of what we want to do. In the future, we will be still, of course, running the hub. We will be working with some of the influencers, and we will be sharing the knowledge that we've collected from this audience. We'll be promoting it all together, perhaps not as heavily as we did in the past, but we will be getting more influencers, different people to share their knowledge as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That was super insightful, and it's exciting to see, kind of where things are going for the future, and that, influencer marketing is a must in all, marketing efforts kind of moving forward. But I know Bailey's been getting some questions in through social and a few in our chat channel. So Bailey, I'd love for you to kind of, share some of those questions.
Yeah, great. So thanks for joining us here, everyone. Michael, you talked a little bit about the response that you've seen just in the traffic to the site, just like increasing so much. What kind of response have you noticed from your own clients? Like, have you seen, I guess, kind of firsthand, whether in comments or coming in through your social channels, to kind of how the hub has been able to drive thought leadership?
Sure, definitely. Since we've launched also the hub and marketing automation tool, almost the same time, we've noticed that our customers, even though the ones that haven't used the tool itself, they would go to the website, they would learn a lot about marketing automation altogether, and they would also ask us to show them how to use the platform. So it was great for getting a lot of useful information for teaching our audience, and then getting actually them interested in using the tool that we had. So we had, we've kind of gained in both ways. We had great feedback when it comes to what we've been providing, great content, and also they were interested in the tool that we've offered them.
Yeah, that's great. And From what we've noticed at Insightpool is that sometimes B2B brands get a little confused about how to use influencer marketing. So I think that's one great reason why we wanted you to join us here today, because I think GetResponse is a really good example of a B2B brand having a successful influencer marketing campaign. What kind of tips do you have? Like, what would your main tip be for any B2B brand hoping to start their first influencer marketing campaign?
Sure. Yeah, this was a lot of learning for us. So probably it's take your time and plan ahead. So of course, as I said, we launched it in July, but we started working on it in December. So it's quite a long time. As I said, some of the influencers that we worked with were outperforming the others. So you don't have to always look at the numbers and think about getting this one influencer right and paying him to work with you. You can start small, and if you don't have the right budget, just try to convince smaller niche influencers to work with you, and find out different ways how we can work together and treat it as a long-term project, not just a short-term thing of exchanging links, blog swaps, and stuff like that. Think of the long-term result of it.
Yeah, I think that's great. And you touched on this a little bit throughout the webinar, but I think we do see a lot of brands using a mix of paid and earned influencers and having a lot of success with that. Could you go a little bit more into detail on what your thoughts are on using paid and earned influencers?
Sure. As I said, we didn't mind the fact that we are going to use some of the paid influencers, and I know that the earned influencer is the holy grail that what you want to achieve. You want brand advocates to do it for free because they love your brand, they love what you do, and they tattoo your logo on their skin. But in the end, that we knew that when launching such a site, such a space, we would need some influencers who will do it as a business. And of course, we wouldn't work with someone who just does it as a one-off thing and exchange articles and then just disappear. We would want people long-term. So as I said, we didn't mind. We had a budget for it, and we decided to work with them because, as it said, as the saying says, you have to spend money to earn money. So in this case, we knew that sometimes you'll have to pay some influencers to have really, the best people that spend their entire lives on teaching, for example, marketing automation, other businesses. So we would want to spend money on that. But of course, the Holy Grail did go along the earned influencers. So if you pay your influencers, you will get also the earned influencers who are happy with what you've been providing them and all your audience.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see what you guys at GetResponse were able to accomplish by creating content with the paid mainstream influencers and then starting organic conversations around that content with earned micro influencers at Insightpool. I think that's interesting, and I think that will hopefully spark a lot of ideas for other brands listening. Um, but that's all we have for today. So thanks for participating, everyone. Michael, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks, Bailey.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And we'll be following up with the recording of the webinar and continuing the series into 2017. So thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.